Uh, I am very thankful to the faculty of the SZABIST and who has provided me an opportunity to interact with the colleagues, the students of this class. Now, the topic which is assigned to me is the justice and rule of law. So, how we define the justice in a historical terms and the rule of law. Basically speaking, there were two schools of thoughts to start with in a historical perspective. One school of thought was classical and the other was the positivist school of thought, and the previous one was known to be a classical school of thought, which means that since time immemorial, justice was to be defined what the God says, what the representative of the God that was at that moment of time, they were the kings. So they defined the definition of justice, what their words were the justice, and they would be implemented at their whims and wishes. And then in 16th, 17th centuries, after the French Revolution, this positivistic school of thought came into being mainly because of rationalization, reasons and scientific research. It was mainly based upon this paradigm or phenomena. Scientific phenomena was discovered. The classical school was replaced by the positivistic school of thought, and that is scientific school of thought. So this is in a nutshell the whole historical background. When we start the definition of justice in a very positivistic school of thought, it started with Aristotle. Aristotle defined the justice in terms of purpose or the ends, and that is because human being has to be in this world to be a virtuous and good citizen, and roles to be defined on the basis of the purpose of life and the ends of life. Finally not, but secondly, it was rather contested, confronted. This view was confronted and competed by the other school of thoughts like Bentham, like Kant, Rawls. These were the rather scientific school of thought representing people or philosophers. So this Bentham propounded the theory of this utilitarianism, utility theory, that maximum benefit for the maximum people. So it was the justice in that context, that what ought to be done, what should we do that benefit to the majority of the people, and it depends upon the philosophy of pains and pleasures. Usually, psychologically speaking, the man avoids the pain and seeks pleasures. So that was the basic criteria of this thesis. Finally, in this context, this theory was rather annexed with dollar value to be annexed with this theory, created some sort of a materialistic phenomena. Then this theory, materialist theory, pain and pleasure theory, and this theory was confronted by the Kant, philosopher Kant, namely a Kant. So this philosopher particularly propounded the theory of rights of life, liberty and property. They are the fundamental rights, fundamental to the human being, fundamental to the inevitable rights which cannot be transferred, which cannot be taken away by anybody. So particularly the right of a property, it is very important right, because this right lead to the issue or a debate of taxation. Some people has gone for the taxation and some against the taxation. Those people who asked for the non-taxation because they believe that taxation is just like a coercion, dacoity, or even a theft, because this is their labor and this is their right, and that right cannot be taken away by those people who are advocating the taxation theory. So this debate went on and on. Finally, this thought came into being that known to be a state of nature. A state of nature means that even when these states came into being, the people or human being was in a state of nature, and these fundamental rights or human rights and inalienable rights were attached to them in a state of nature. So they are natural rights which cannot be snatched by the other human beings representing the democracy or representing the liberals. So these are the fundamental inevitable rights remaining from the very start of a human being, that is known to be a state of nature. Finally, this thesis of libertarianism finally, I will not say transformed into this concept of wheel of ignorance concept. Wheel of ignorance is a very innovative thesis that there are so many prejudices, biases in the society. So many people are rich, so many people are poor. They cannot people cannot start from the same baseline. Some people are poor, some people are very rich people. So they cannot compete to the rich cannot compete with the poor, and poor cannot compete with the rich. So John Ross, he propounded the theory that we should come out from the wheel of ignorance. We should be ignorant of this prejudices, biases. So he has now finally come to the conclusion of social justices, that there must be some social justice. Those inequalities are permissible, which are to the advantage of those people who are at the bottom of the society. So these are the concepts of the different concepts, starting from Aristotle till John Ross, and finally it has crystallized themselves. These ideas crystallize themselves into this concept of rule of law. So what do we mean by rule of law? Rule of law means equality before law, equal application of law to all citizens, and finally the judiciary should be the final arbitrator of any dispute, civil or criminal or even a constitutional. So this is the basic criteria of rule of law. So there are so many parameters for the rule of law. One parameter is limitation on the government governance, and number two, extent of corruption, and civil and criminal laws, civil and criminal justices, they all constitute the term the rule of law. So Pakistan in the rule of law index is very low, but now the state organs, they are, particularly the Supreme Court of Pakistan, the judiciary, they are trying to upgrade this low index to maximum height. So we are hoping for the best. Police is also part of that instrument of criminal justice administration. Police has a very lot to do for the rule of law, being in the first line of defense for the rule of law. Judiciary is the last line of defense for the rule of law. So we should make some endeavors to upgrade this index so far as the rule of law is concerned. Thank you very much.